Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and on behalf of the Civil Engagement Group, thank you for your remarks, Taoiseach, and a very happy St Bridget's Day to you too. As you know, I'm a Taoiseach's nominee, and I was reflecting on your words, and I do my very best to bring my experience and knowledge to the service of the Oireachtas and the country as best I can in my role here. Your words this afternoon on the reform of the Seanad are extremely welcome. Every member of the Civil Engagement Group supported the Seanad Reform Bill nearly 2 years ago, which addresses all of the reforms that you have outlined. And it would have been great to hear that you were going to support the passing of that bill, but we are very eager to engage in the ongoing process in whatever way that will provide meaningful change. In particular, we would like to highlight the principles of one person, one vote, which is a fundamental tenet of all modern democracies, and warmly welcome the acknowledgement that our citizens living overseas — I lived overseas myself for 17 years — deserve the right to participate in the governance of our homeland. Even though you're miles away, you still care deeply about what's happening at home. So we welcome that. The Civil Engagement Group looks forward to engaging with the ongoing process, and we will participate fully. For me and for countless campaigners over the last 35 years, it was a watershed moment on Monday night when you announced your intention both to hold and to campaign in favour of a referendum to repeal the 8th Amendment to the Constitution and to replace it with language empowering the Oireachtas to bring Ireland's abortion regime more in line with our European counterparts in the developed world. I commend your decision, and I look forward to campaigning with you, alongside you, to make repealing the 8th a reality. I would also like to welcome the decision made to ratify the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. People with disabilities, their families and carers have been waiting a very, very long time for this. That community have heard many empty promises and action. We cannot and we must not let them down this time. Taoiseach, we need you to be the owner and driver of this work of emancipation, and to integrate the actions of all departments to make a reality the promises of the Convention. The Action Plan on Jobs is an example of policy that was driven relentlessly from the centre of government. It worked, and this too will work if we use the same approach. Will you give your commitment today to people with disabilities all over Ireland that you will drive this forward? Taoiseach, you often refer to building a republic of opportunity. This is a laudable goal, but we're a really long way away to achieving it. We in the Civil Engagement Group work extremely closely with civil society groups who tell us loudly and clearly that the republic in which we live is not one where there is equal opportunity for all. It is a strange republic where it is radical to say that someone earning the average wage should be able to afford a home, or even more radical to suggest that everyone should have a right to a home. It is a strange republic where more people have nowhere to call home at all than live in the entire town of Youghal, more children homeless than everyone living in Bantry. It is a strange republic where people most in need of healthcare are the least likely to have it, where 1,200 young people with disabilities are living in nursing homes because the supports they need to allow them to remain at home and in the community are not in place. A true republic of opportunity is one where the needs of civil society are embedded in policy making, where people experiencing the challenges themselves and those working for them are truly listened to. The programme for government sets the goal of formal cooperation with people who make up civil society from every walk of life, and I urge you to make good that commitment today and to make it happen. We in the Civil Engagement Group too hope to see a republic of opportunity someday, but I'm afraid of empty words. Your predecessor, Enda Kenny, took the bold decision to recognise traveller ethnicity. That community is still waiting to see the real impact of that change. We learned recently that over €4 million earmarked for traveller accommodation was returned unspent, whilst there is a tragedy and crisis in traveller accommodation going on for years. Shockingly, only 167 travellers ever went to university or third level. That needs to change. What are your plans to ensure travellers get the healthcare, housing and education they're entitled to as citizens, to be fully part of our Republic of Opportunity like everyone else? Your government has agreed to allow asylum seekers the right to work, only after your hand was forced by the courts, and it would seem only in the most restrictive way. Again, they have been fine words, but we await real action. I urge you too to make a real commitment to end the national disgrace of direct provision sooner or later. I pass Glenvera on the Wellington Road, and it makes me ashamed every time I do, living in Cork. We also have an ongoing and encouraging support in this House for the right to family reunification for refugees, support from all sides but government. I hope you will reconsider this position with a more humane and generous approach to family reunification. Your government has made many fine statements about support and protections for older people. To pick just one, research shows that people with dementia have a better quality and length of life and more comfort when cared for at home. But in Ireland today, unlike many other countries across Europe, we do not have an infrastructure of home care. It is not resourced adequately. People have no entitlement to it as an alternative to costly residential care, and even more worryingly, it's not regulated. When will we have real action on home care, not just endless consultations and review? And can we look forward to timely progress of adult safeguarding for people experiencing real harm and abuse? The vital public health alcohol bill was initiated by you when you were Minister for Health, and you are to be commended for that. This is another area where I have to express some concern. With each step forward that bill takes in the legislative process, it seems that we have to take several steps backwards. I hope you will not allow the commercial interests of the alcohol industry weaken this crucial legislation any further now that it's in the Dáil, and that this bill, as well as the domestic violence bill, is passed without delay. A really good example of us as a revising chamber working cross-party. The Republic of Opportunity is an aspiration. Actions speak louder than words or sound bites. We need to see joined-up thinking and collective rather than individualistic responses to the crisis we face in health, housing, mental health care, education and climate change. Taoiseach, you yourself have acknowledged that Ireland is an international climate laggard. I am pleased you recognise the scale of the problem we face and the severity of the consequences of our inaction. I hope to hear more from you on what specific actions you intend to seize the opportunities for a transition to greener jobs, communities and cities. And on that same point, I hope to hear your plans for tackling our huge and growing problems with waste and with single-use plastics flowing into our beautiful seas and oceans. Why aren't we seeking to lead the world by developing an indigenous industry, creating more durable and compostable materials to replace non-biodegradable single-use items? Since the austerity years, Ireland's public services and social fabric have taken a real, have been stretched to breaking point. The voluntary sector is being over-relied upon as a stopgap for inadequate government responses to many social issues and problems. Most people would see access to decent health care and public services as well as education as more important than an extra few euros in their pockets. With the state of our public services, we simply cannot afford to be prioritising tax cuts at this time. There is also little attention paid to the money taken out of the exchequer by tax breaks, which often benefit the wealthiest disproportionately, including on private pensions and the unknown costs of the knowledge box. I call on you to ensure that the estimates on revenue foregone as a result of these sorts of tax measures are published as part of Budget 2019. The programme for government also includes a commitment to introduce gender and equality budgeting. I hope to see that developed and delivered upon in the next budget. Pension equality, valuing the contribution of care and recognising the historical pay gap between the sexes must be acted upon. Minister Doherty has been listening to these demands, and she has been listening to the concerns around lone parents. We look forward to engaging with her proposals and hope you back her. Taoiseach, finally, whilst we may often differ with you, my colleagues and I in the Civil Engagement Group share with you the desire for a real Republic of Opportunity in Ireland. We want to see one where everyone in Ireland, irrespective of class, creed, age, gender, ability, sexual orientation, are encouraged and supported, where we can live civilly and well, and where all people and the beautiful country we live in are cared for, thrive and prosper. Thank you, Taoiseach.
Thank you.